All right, episode 120, Joel Fleischman Happy Hour Podcast. We didn't have Joel here, obviously, but we do have Craig Johnson, Todd Flitter, regional market leaders, correct? That's the title now, here at Drexel. I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a life of a lumberyard podcast, getting to know Todd and Craig and kind of their journey here at Drexel. So cheers, gentlemen, episode 120.
Cheers, Marcus. Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers.
Drinking some Busch Lights. Still looking for a sponsor out there. So if anybody wants to sponsor with the beer, we'd be more willing to take you on. I guess to kind of open it up and start off, how long have you two known each other?
Oh, when did we meet? It was probably... Was it middle school or before
Yeah, I
middle
would say
school?
probably sixth grade.
Yeah, fifth, sixth grade.
Fifth, sixth grade.
Okay, so middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school.
Not elementary. Where'd you go to elementary?
I went to St. Matt's.
Okay.
I was at the public school.
Okay. So middle school, so what was it, out at recess? There was a class. I mean, that's obviously, I don't want to say many moons ago, but wasn't yesterday.
Well, I'd say we were our parents were really good friends. And they hung out together, and probably like we didn't really get acquainted or start hanging out together till probably middle school.
Yeah.
You know,
Junior high, probably.
Todd's dad used to own a bar, and I think my parents were frequent flyers to that bar, and once in a while I would be there, and I think that's kind of how we...
What bar?
Fuzzy's Tap in Waukusta.
Okay.
Yeah. Population of probably then was probably about 8.
Okay.
But my mom had a grocery store there too, so it was Fuzzy's Tap and Jan's Grocery back in the 70s.
Sure.
Craig's mom is also my godmother.
Really?
So Sue is my godmother, so was over there, you know, whether it was my birthday or something, Sue was always giving me something for my birthday back in the heyday. I don't know why she isn't not. Craig, could you ask her that when you get home today? Yeah.
she's a couple years behind.
Yeah, a couple years behind. But I do agree with Craig. Our dads played softball. I don't think they were on the same team.
I don't think they were.
But we went to a lot of softball tournaments that they played in back in the heyday. And then it just led to like, hey, why don't you, Craig lived in town and I lived just outside of town. So I would say we did all the junior high friends get together and we played a lot of kick the can, basketball games in the driveway and stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, our dad's playing softball was probably the big kickoff. Every weekend we were doing something.
Yeah, that was the igniter of it. I think
we definitely.
While they were playing ball, we were getting into some sort of mischief.
Yes. Craig was usually the instigator too.
I find that hard to believe. I feel like it might be the other way around.
Yeah, I think you know how it is, Marcus. Yes.
Well, we'll see where this podcast goes.
The facts might come out, right?
We'll see where this goes. There's a couple things.
I was more of the sidekick. I didn't stop it.
So I guess, obviously, having that connection growing up, which one of you, I'm assuming Craig, obviously was at Drexel first?
I was,
yes. In the inner walls here and things like that. Started in Campbellsport, correct, before obviously going to New Berlin.
To Berlin,
excuse me. Yep, to Berlin. And then Todd, what year did you were doing millwork stuff or worked at a millwork place?
I started in
mill?
2000.
Okay.
February of 2000, and actually got hired to work in the yard, which lasted for like a day. And then I think I told the same story on the last podcast, but there's a guy by the name of Mitch that was, I don't know, not doing his job or got caught playing cards or something on his computer, and Joel got rid of him, and I did millwork, and away it went.
Sweet.
Really knew nothing on the side of sales. Joel's just like, you want to do it, so it kind of taught ourselves a lot, you know, leaning on Joe and Albert on the sales pitch, but POs and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, so I got into millwork was where I sunk my teeth in, millwork and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so again, what years was that roughly when you guys started? Like truly what year?
I literally started in 1989.
89, okay.
When I was a senior in high school. Albert was looking for a summer helper, and he went up to Mrs. Pelichek, our English teacher, and said, who should I hire? And she mentioned my name, so Albert...
That's literally how it started?
Yep, and Albert didn't interview
Teacher's
me.
pet.
Yeah. Albert didn't interview, he just hired me. And so then in my senior year of high school and my 4 years of college, I worked in the summer in operations, put lumber away, made deliveries, just worked as an operation guy. And then after college, I moved to Milwaukee and lived there. And 97 is when I came back full time to Campbellsport.
And what were you doing at that point in 97 when you first came back?
That's when we just started the specialist kind of role. So
Okay.
like back then we didn't even have a computer system. So started out like Joel and I were the originators of making up all the SKUs for all the products. I was mostly in charge of hardware and inside sales, and I was like the Windows specialist.
Sure.
That was kind of my first role.
And that went until about 99 with the whole Berlin
Correct.
purchase at that point?
Yeah.
And so, Todd, you mentioned, prior to Drexel, you were doing what?
I worked at, well, they've changed names so many times. Then it was called ProBuild, maybe.
Okay.
I was there, and Joel called me on the way home. And I had been talking to Craig for a couple of years trying to get in. I'd worked at a couple previous places before that, and Joel called me. That was in 2000. I got the phone call coming through Ashford. I remember that came in, and it was like a 15-minute interview with him and Albert. And literally, it's what it was.
Yeah.
That quick. And all right, when can you start? When do you want me to start? And 2 weeks later, I went and put my 2 weeks in and was here. Yeah.
So,
But it was the same thing, coming to the inside. Even though it was just millwork, what was my specialty back then, we had a window specialist and a millwork specialist, and then we did everything else too. So we did ordering shingles. I was ordering trusses.
Sure. That was your
remember
focus.
my first
but
truss order, Ray Kriegel, right down here. I'm like, never ordered truss. Joel's like, you're going to learn how to estimate garages. You basically get a book. Joel went through a couple. Not the most difficult things in the world, but when you start putting $10,000 trusses up that you've never ordered and it's a block away and you can see it going up, that was some interesting times. But it really helped us sink our teeth into the industry and helping the contractors, doing everything from mixing paint to the only thing I never really did was windows because we had Paco at the time. So it was really two specialists, Joni, and then I think Chris was front counter for a while. It was four of us. So it was still pretty small at that time. And that's when you left to go run Berlin. But I think there was only 15 people, maybe 20 at the most down there. But you still did everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we didn't have like some of the things that stand out to me them first few years that I was there. Like we did all the special ordering. We'd order vinyl siding. We'd order anything from Ammerharts and Wassaws. And I remember Joel and I on a daily basis were having negotiation contests. How much do we get off? How much do we save that day with the vendor? We got 5% off here, 7% off there, 3% off, and we tally it up and have competitions every day.
I remember just
we negotiated everything.
Sure.
Yeah, he's like, you are going to call Amherst and you are going to ask for money off of every roll of coil stock. Mike Eagle had to have hated me because I called him 13, because then it was every time you got an order, you replaced it. You didn't kind of put it together and order it once. You had to handwrite your POs, and it was like, hey, Mike, I know you gave me the last roll for $73.86. How about $71.80? You're literally fighting for $2. Is it you just wanted to show that you were willing to do that on the phone? It's nothing like that now. Now our merchants are all
right.
But it was, you were the buyer. You thought it was a big deal when you negotiated $2.86 off a roll of coil stock.
How, and I think you mentioned it, did you say there were 15, 16 people at that point?
I'm trying to think because there was literally six people up front, and that's with Joel and Albert.
Yep.
There was a dispatcher, which Joel was doing a lot of dispatch at the time with that person, and maybe 4 guys in the yard, 2 salespeople, and a couple estimators. And the person that sat up front was Chris. She was doing multiple jobs once in a while. She was helping with finance and doing cabinetry.
Chris Ballard, right?
When I first started.
Yep.
And then Julie came in shortly after, and Julie started doing that with Joni. But I literally sat between Joni, Albert, Joel, and me and Paco up front. So we were working with which was great. You worked next to Albert for as many years as I did. It was, everybody should have that opportunity. Cause
when Shannon Klink and Tim Lindsley were on here, this was going back to last year at some point. I can't remember exactly when, but Tim had talked about some of the different lunches that Albert would bring in and just the smells of some of those things. And it was always a mystery, it seemed like.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, Albert was a character.
Yeah.
You learned so much from him, but yet he was just a character. It was so fun. It was fun working with him on a daily basis.
He had a lot of one-liners that most of us can't say, and he could get away with it. Like
sure.
And there's a board around here.
Downstairs,
Yeah. Like he said that, and I'd be like, I know I can't say that, but there was he still is. I mean, that's why we're here.
Right.
I think when I started in 97, I was actually team member like number 12.
Number 12.
Yeah. I do remember that distinctly because every January, Joni would send around everybody's name, and you had to block off which week you were going to take off.
Sure.
Like if you were planning a week's vacation, because back then...
Yeah, because people couldn't double up so much, right?
No, back then we only got 10 days vacation for everybody.
Sure.
So we couldn't, you couldn't ever double up on a week with anybody. She'd send it out around January, and back then I was a young guy. You didn't plan any vacations, so I never checked a box. But if you had a week vacation,
he has plenty of vacations now, though.
I do.
A lot of golfing, like April through October now. Yeah,
Let's not talk about hunting season. Okay?
Well, that was because I would never. I was always the last one on the list. So everything because of Lindsley.
Because you were the newer guy?
Lindsley worked down there. I was a hunting guy. Well, I never got. Yeah, so. That was crazy. A little box he checked off. You went down the list and got to like this week.
And were you the last guy on the list because you were the newer guy? Is that how it kind of works?
Seniority kind of thing? Went to number one first, number
Yep.
2, and number 3. And
So you think you were probably like 16, 17 then here at Drexel? Or somewhere before 20, obviously?
Yeah, I would say it was before 20 probably.
Sure. Interesting. So obviously, 99, go purchase Berlin. And there was a story when Albert was on here, I believe episode 100, was kind of talking about that summer storm that came through the Berlin area. There was a really bad storm, right?
Yeah.
That obviously, can you kind of touch on what like those early days were just in Berlin? And obviously, again, Albert was telling it like it was almost the hunting land across the road, the 40 acres there or whatever was kind of what we thought about. That seemed more lucrative. Bring the material back to Campbellsport, close up shop there, but then it was obviously an opportunity to give you a chance to kind of run there.
Yeah, so when they bought the property, I think they had the full intention of just bringing the inventory back to Berlin and selling the land because I think they felt like they could turn a profit just off of that.
Sure.
But when they did buy it, they first offered Tim Lindsley, who was our most senior, would he have any interest? And
Bush Light for Timmy.
Yeah, Timmy. Shout out to Timmy. And then I actually went up to Joel and Albert and said, like, this was the reason why I came back. This is what we talked about. Like, if you're going to send somebody over, I'm willing to move.
Sure.
And then I think they said, okay, let's take a chance at it. Let's go up there and see what it can become.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember Albert talking about, making many trips when we first had purchased it, but really what was truly, I mean, we didn't get into it a ton on that episode, talking about like how different it was to have 2 locations as opposed to 1. And at that point, we're probably, 20, 21 people? Obviously, Rob Dean came with the building, and there were other people that were there and things like that. But what was that, honestly, again, right? You're like, hey, I want to do this, but what'd you step into that maybe you didn't know what it all encompassed? Everything? Or?
Everything, Marcus. I was way over my skis. I mean, I do distinctly remember at first, I wasn't living up there. I drove back and forth. And it was just cleaning up the old lumberyard. We were getting rid of the paint and the stain that they had. They had a wood burner inside. That's how they heated the building.
Sold cans of sand.
They had a planer outside where they'd plane boards for people. They would chop wood in the summer month to prepare for the winter to put in the wood burner to make it. They had a scale and coffee cans under the counter and literally weighed out every bit of nails. And I remember driving back and forth like them first couple weeks like what the F am I doing? Holy cow, this is going back to so primitive to where we were in Campbellsport. It was like literally starting from scratch, but it was me and 3 other people, so we only had 4 people, so it was like the whole managerial side, like I didn't even, there was not a whole lot of managing going on. It was, we all just did tasks and got them done. But as things went on, it got better each week and started to feel like a lumberyard. And we weren't really selling that much. I would say we called it the forget-me-not lumberyard. Most of the local contractors had suppliers. And if that supplier messed up and was shorted them on material or they need some, then they would run to us.
Sure.
And so we were there in 99. In April of 2000, a large hailstorm went through, and that was kind of the kickstart to our super growth and really getting to know the contractors.
Yeah, because the hardware store couldn't keep up in town, right? There were a lot of other things that.
It was.
Was you doing a semi-load of shingles a day?
We were doing that summer. We did a semi-load of shingles. A college kid, Jeremy Mullenbach from Campbellsport, shout out to Jeremy, drove up every day with a transfer truck of material, all to do with roofing supplies. It would be tar, felt, back then we fixed screens and we were getting screens, and like he came up every day and literally had a transfer vehicle, and then he would literally deliver shingles.
Some of
all
us
day
rode
long
with him up there because I know we helped work the counter a lot of times. Maybe not every day, but there was times where driving up with Mully, we would take so many supplies up there. Even sometimes it was shingles because you needed 2 more pallets and we had them down here. But yeah, that was crazy. People coming in at the counter.
Yeah, it was crazy. That was the Wausau came every day with a semi-load of shingles.
Really?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah, and I remember we had a bunch of college kids delivering shingles, and we gave 10 cents a bundle for unloading, and
That's right.
you didn't deliver them. We didn't have a boom truck. People didn't expect it on a boom truck. They just wanted it out there. So we were literally hand unloading, shingles, which I got, off a tall bed. They would have to put it on the bed, get down, and then unload it. Like they'd handle it twice, so to speak. But they got a dime.
Created some animals that summer.
Yeah.
I got some of those shingle bonuses.
Did you?
Yeah, we went out on some of those runs. Even here, we did that too.
Yeah,
Sure.
It was crazy. But that was the kickstart to our business, because then we just started to get our name out there more.
Yep.
But then the local contractors started to come.
Sure.
We had conversations previous to that, but then we became reliable. And we really, it was fun. It was crazy, like how much shingles and
Nuts.
product we moved. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know what the numbers were, but we probably quadrupled our sales overnight because of that hailstorm.
Yeah.
Which was just crazy.
Couple of hailstorms, right? Up there was more than one. Wasn't there another one?
Yeah, we've had a hailstorm after that, but
Yeah.
that was
That
the
was
one
the
that
kickstart.
kickstarted our beginning up there.
Interesting. So I guess if we jump forward quite a few years here, but from leading stores in Berlin and Campbellsport to being regional market leaders now, I guess, how have things, obviously, right, when I talk at SHU and I show newbies every couple weeks the timeline, and we talk from 85 to 99, and then purchasing Berlin, and then going to like 2003, 2004 with Kiel, and then you go into the 2000s, into 2012 when we kind of purchased Brookfield with the Drexel interiors, and then obviously from there it's just been rapid, right? Can you kind of talk about that growth just from what you guys saw from your early days, you leading Campbellsport, to now where you guys are at, leading and coaching, just tons of different salespeople, whether that's in the cabinetry, flooring, or lumber world. Just how far kind of Drexel has come in a short amount of time from what you guys have seen, again, leading the store to now leading salespeople out on the road.
Well, I guess I'll start. I mean, it literally blows my mind. Like I do remember distinctly when I moved up there, Joel and Albert and myself all wrote down what was our 3-year goal in Berlin. And none of us had any idea, but where we ended up after 3 years is we weren't even close on our projections. It was
So much
way
further
higher, and so like just to see where Drexel is today, to me, is like, I don't know if it was ever imaginable, like
No.
I mean, I remember distinctly shortly after I moved up to Berlin, there was an article in the Fond du Lac Reporter that called Campbellsport the $6 million men.
Yeah.
And we hit $6 million in sales there a year.
Yep.
A year. And now what they're pumping out of Campbellsport, what we pump out of Berlin, what we pump out of all our locations, it's funny looking back on it that we thought that was a huge deal, selling $6 million a year.
Sure, but you didn't know what you didn't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, here's a goal, and let's see if we can.
And everybody was always worried about the growth. Even now, everybody's worried about the growth, but the growth was really the same, is still the same. You figure it out as you go. You need more people. You need more trucks. It's nothing different now. I mean, yeah, it's a little more dialed in right now. Like if we want to duplicate a store, we have the things that we're doing now are just make sense. We could open up another store tomorrow if we really wanted to with the way we run it. But when you went from, I know when I started like 300, 400, 500,000, those were like, oh my God, we hit 400,000. Now we sell that in like a half a day once in a while. I mean, or a day right. And I do remember Albert when we hit $7 million in Camel Sport. He walked around, and we were still pretty small then. And it might have been $6 million. It might have been the $6 million you say that. He gave everybody a $100 bill, or maybe it was for hitting. I think it was $1 million. It was $1 million. We cracked $1 million. He walked around and he gave everybody a $100 bill cash. Everybody. So then it was still probably only 25 people.
Sure.
So I made the comment when we hit $7 million that 1 year to $6 million. I'm like, hey, we hit $7 million. Are you going to walk around? And he's like, just get your ass back to work. But it's just unique things like that. It's like the growth is still the same. You figure it out.
Yeah.
But to Craig's, like, did I ever think we'd have 800 people with did I ever think we'd have 3 manufacturing plants? No. And I'm guessing the next
we don't know yet, right?
20 years,
Just
the way we're going. And to me, it's not scary anymore. It's just like what's next?
Right.
And I think the team is really getting their arms wrapped around that finally now too with our development days. So, yeah, to ever imagine we'd be where we're at right now, and the salespeople that we have, never imagine it.
For sure.
No way.
And to me, what we're doing on the product side today, and the merchants and that, and like literally selling and buying those products, like to me, like. It's pretty exciting. The sky is the limit for Drexel. Like we're going to see a lot of growth as a result of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's me. Selling's was always fun, but the people right now, and even us, it's even fun now to go on sales calls with these people, our quarterbacks, and they're dynamic the way it is. But they have just these new fun tools. It's easy. We were just talking about after development today. This is like. If compared to where we were 25, 30 years ago, and now the stuff that we're doing, it's super fun.
And I'm not making a blanket statement, but sometimes when you're newer, you don't have that appreciation from the past, right?
Correct.
Where it's like,
Correct.
Hey, this is what we used to do, or how we did it, and this is the challenge that we had. So,
but we also had the same kind of we've had the same growing pains back then as we do now.
Sure.
Huge amount of growth. How come we can't plan for it? We didn't plan for it. I remember having conversations with Albert, I'd be like, Albert, we got to plan a little bit better. We got to think 2-3 years ahead, and he'd look me in the eye and he'd go, well, Jesus Christ, Craig, I didn't even think you guys were going to be here, next year. So let's just take it one day.
Glad we made it to the Christmas party, right?
Let's just make it one day at a time, 1 year at a time, So it was kind of
a lot of people that work.
Same growing pains.
Yeah, they were worried about growing too fast, and there was a lot of people that. Oh my God, we're getting so big. As long as we don't lose the small town touch and feel that we have still getting product out, hospitality, and doing what we're doing, we're just making the procedure, the operations better for our customers. It always has been about our clients, but now we have other things to take to them. I don't know if we ever gave them the best price we could, but we're one of the few companies that saving them money, putting money in their pockets right now, and still doing all the fun stuff. So it's just to put all this stuff together. It's just amazing. It's just crazy.
How do you guys, and again, I know that you haven't been specifically in one role as a store leader, head coach, whatever you want to kind of call it, as we've changed terms over the years, but now being specifically always on the road as opposed to manning a store, which I know you were still going out and working with builders and things like that, but how's that dynamic where it's like in the past you were probably focused on running a store and a lot of focus was on people at the store, and now you're in different locations, different job sites every day, everywhere, don't really have a desk because you're always moving. How does that kind of flow for you guys in terms of your growth of where you guys have been? Like any things you miss about being at the store level, or it was like I had this one spot to go to where I called my office and saw these same people every day, or it doesn't really matter for you guys?
To me, it doesn't really matter that I don't. I'm actually kind of glad I don't have a desk, because then it's just something that gets cluttered. I love being able to go down, throw my backpack down, and just dive into something with somebody. So to me, there's always that rhythm when you come in, you talk to the guys that you have every morning. But now it's just that rhythm's just a little different.
Sure.
You just coach on another level. It's not running the defense, you're running the defense and the offense and stuff like that. So having an office was always nice, but I really don't miss it. I love coming in and dropping my backpack at a different spot every day. And just like you don't know what the item is today. When you came in, you kind of always had a routine.
Yeah.
Like Albert always came in and you made your rounds, right? Now you come in and it's like somebody probably wants to talk to you right away. Like, let's get after that. At least that's but I kind of like not having a desk. I like just being able to go in and throw my backpack on somebody else's desk and say, what are we doing today? Like, and game planning it like that. That's super fun for me.
For sure.
Yeah, for me, the transition at first was tough because Berlin was my baby. Like that's where I started, the operation there, and then moving on to another career or a different role was a little bit like, oh man, is this the right thing to do? Like, this is my baby. I need to see this through, so to speak. But after, I think it was 22, so it was like 23 years, I felt like it was time for another voice there. I thought that was healthy. And truth be told, when I started there, in Berlin, like I was the dispatcher, I was the salesperson, I was the manager. You just wore all of those hats. And always to me, sales was the hat that I loved the most. And as we grew, I got further and further away from that role and had to, because, you now have went from 4 people to 10 people to 20 people to like, so the focus needed to be on the team.
Sure.
And I enjoyed that. I love the people there. We've always had great people in Berlin, but sales still was always where the heart was at. So like this was ultimately I did it because that's where my heart was, but also I felt it was time for a new voice in Berlin.
Sure.
I really did.
I guess I got to ask the elephant in the room. What's it like not only knowing Joel but being family with Joel?
Be honest.
Is this being recorded?
We're actually going to cut the rest of this out.
Cut
this is the
this
only part
we're going to... we always laughed. We used to work in camel sport, and we were dating the twins, and so we'd work. Back then, we were working like 65 hours a week. So then we'd work 65 hours a week, and then we would see each other on Saturday and Sunday. So we spent a lot of time together. So the story is, I moved up to Berlin to get away from Joel.
Okay.
And Joel will say he shipped me up to Berlin to get away.
So who could be the tiebreaker? Is that Albert that we got to get in here?
Yeah, we would have to.
But Joel's to me like a great visionary. He's a great mind. He's got a lot of great ideas, and sometimes it's hard to just keep up with him.
Sure.
But I always resort back to, man, him and Albert's track history is so effing good. Like, you just got to go with it. You got to roll with it. You got to buy into it, let it play out. Everything that they do turns to gold. Like him and Albert have always had that gift. And sometimes when you're like a little skeptical, sometimes, like, oh, have we thought this all the way through? And sometimes, to me, I always just go back to like, go with it. You got to go with it. Their track
the bank
record
has been built up, right?
The track record is way too good to not to doubt it at this point in time.
For sure.
So.
Yeah.
But no, it's been great working with Joel. He's a great brother-in-law, but
he sent you to
at
Berlin.
Times he sent me to Berlin. I said I moved there.
Interesting.
To get away from.
That's a good nugget. We'll set up another podcast. I think we'll finally get the real answer on that. Check back soon, folks. And now we got some questions from the crowd. So this is for both of you.
I want to go back to the other.
yeah.
We missed the main reason why Craig actually went up to. Just so happens there's a golf course there.
Oh, yes.
I think there was some membership deals going on at the time back
okay.
in '90. Just let's make sure.
That first summer that I was there was amazing. So like I literally would work all day, and I shouldn't say this, and I don't want this to sound negative. I love you, Angie. But I was up there, and I was single. She was still living down here, and we weren't married. We weren't even engaged. Like literally, I would work all day, and I played golf every night till dark. And then I hooked up with some local bankers up there that were around the same age as me, and oh my God, we used to go out and drink every night and
Buc-ee's.
And Buc-ee's. And oh man, it was a really fun summer.
So if a round of 18 holes was won, how many times have you played there?
During work or after?
That's bullshit.
We're getting deep here on this.
I don't know how many rounds I played.
Got to take a guess.
Well, I do know, like last year I played 36 rounds of golf, and that's how many scores I posted, and I would say probably 30 of those are at Mascoutin, but you know, that stuff goes in waves, right, as your kids are younger and they get into activities. But that first summer I was there, I'm not kidding you when I told you 5 days a week I played golf. And we just, because you'd slide out till 9 o'clock at night, store closed at 5, I'd be home at 5:30, and we'd be out on the golf course.
That's crazy.
You know.
All right, questions from the crowd.
Oh boy.
Giddy up here. First time we've done this. So, what is a secret that's PG-13 that you've never told your parents?
Well, there's a lot of things I didn't tell my parents because we always had parties at my house during softball.
Yeah.
And most of them are not PG, so I guess.
So that's yours right there.
And you were probably in some of those, so it's probably really. I can't think of.
PG-13 that I didn't tell my parents.
Like for me, it'd be like, you know, I drove in the ditch many a times, but not on purpose, obviously. But there's a time I went in that I didn't tell them about, you know, obviously nothing crazy, but.
Well, I do know in 2 instances I put a car in the pickers and never told my mom and dad. Didn't wreck anything.
Sure, same, no.
Dad found a few strands of grass maybe hanging from it, wondered why it was there.
I don't know if I ever put anything in the prickers. When I put it in the prickers, I put it in the prickers.
It
wasn't coming back.
They knew about it.
That one
Yeah,
because
they
your
knew
dad
about
showed
that.
up at my house the next day.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah,
I can't think of it.
That's all right. All right. And you guys, again, the person that, I won't throw any names out there, but the person that wanted to ask these said you guys might be too old, so you might not know who these people are. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
I'm going Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys all the way. I was a secret Backstreet Boys guy.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Fleischman used to dance to. I've seen him go.
He was in sync. He did the NSYNC.
He used to
Really?
go off in the
He was
bars
NSYNC,
on some of that stuff once.
Yeah, he memorized the NSYNC
I remember.
dance.
Oh my!
That's what he had here.
That-
you should actually.
Yeah,
bring
you
that.
should ask him about that. Yeah,
All right.
that's
he
what
literally knew the routine, or at some point I memorized
Yeah.
it, and that would be a nightly thing in the bar where that would come on the jukebox, and he'd be doing the bye. I remember that.
He actually had hair then, I think, when he did that one. Yeah.
If you guys were in charge of marketing at the Super Bowl, who would you have for the halftime performance?
Boy.
Marketing halftime show. Jeez. I'm pretty old, so I don't know.
Well,
probably nobody modern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty old too, but I'm kind of if I want to go old school with
You
this,
can go wherever you want.
Prince.
Prince. Okay.
Yeah. Prince. And if it was like now, it'd probably be like Luke Combs.
Okay. Perfect. Interesting, different mix there
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I listen
Yeah.
to just about anything
Yeah.
other than like acid rock rap.
Sure.
But yeah.
I'd go Vanilla Ice or Boys to Men.
Ooh.
Oh, Boys to Men.
Yeah.
I used to
Interesting.
play Vanilla Ice all the time shooting pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what age do you believe you peaked?
On what?
Just when do you think you peaked in life?
I'm gonna say like 20. I didn't peak in high school. I was such a midget in high school. I was 5'4" my senior year.
And I forgot to bring the picture. Todd sent me the picture that's run across the screens before. I'll pull it up.
No, we don't need to do that.
Senior year's basketball season. You got the afro.
Why would we do that?
Because it's a great picture. Yeah, I would say a couple years out of high school. That's when you realize, you just were stronger and you just went. You had it.
I actually remember my friends' parents always saying, well, you're going to go on a growth spurt, and I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. I was 5'4" my senior year, and my freshman year of college, I grew 6 inches, and I was like, God damn it, really? Why didn't I have that 6 inches when I was in high school? Because I was a basketball player. But
I'd probably say 19, 20.
Yeah, 19, 20. Yeah.
We only got 2 more left. How many Joel Fleischman Happy Hour podcasts have you listened to? At least till, like say 15, 20 minutes of a podcast. How many podcasts have you listened to? We've had 100. Obviously, this is 120. So how many do you think you've listened to at least 15, 20 minutes of a podcast?
For me, it's I would say probably half, 60.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm definitely over half.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a regular to me because like now I have a drive.
Sure.
Like if I'm driving to Wrightstown, I have an hour drive. And there and back. So I'm most of my drives, I'm not a music listener. I listen to podcasts, and Happy Hours is one of the the ones that I frequently tune in.
So I always listen to them at home, and then I jump around on them for some reason. I always want to go listen to the Billboard thing. Like, what did he say? And then I'll jump back, and I do a lot of that. But well over half. I probably close to 100 or something on some of them.
Sure, might even be more. I listen to it quite a bit. Yeah, okay. I enjoy them actually.
So before we get to the Billboard, last one would be, what food would you eat nonstop if you could, if cost, calories, everything else didn't matter? If you could have one food that you could just eat nonstop, what would it be?
I love pasta.
Anything pasta?
Anything pasta.
Spaghetti, Alfredo.
Chicken
pizza.
Alfredo. Chicken Alfredo.
Yeah. Okay. Do they serve that at the golf course in Berlin?
No, they don't.
I'm not a pasta guy. I like a lot of hunks of meat, like prime rib and stuff, but I'm going to go to Sweet Tooth because I don't eat sweets just because it catches up to you so quick now. But if I could go to like salted caramel Twix and just eat them every day, they're so good.
Yeah.
My daughter's she bought these bucket of square salted caramels, and it sits right eye level when you open it up right now. I think I'm the only one eating them.
When you used to run Camel Sport, were those in the vending machine down there?
No. No, but then it was Munchos. We used to eat chips. Me and Julie Korth and Paco. It was like Munchos and Funyuns, several bags a week.
Funyuns, yeah.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say dog food.
I've done that before. Keep that quiet, Craig.
All right, last question. Billboard. So as Todd just mentioned, you got one billboard. It's on whatever major highway, 41, where you're going to say that everyone's going to see it. What's your mantra? It could be family related, sports related, life related, whatever. What's your mantra and why? And we'll start with Todd.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and it's not going to change from the first time. So I love sunrises and I love sunsets. And to me, that's what life is about, how your day starts, how your day ends, and even the sunrise is somebody's sunset. But there's so much between there, and I would just have a couple pictures of that, maybe some of the things that you're doing throughout the day, throughout the week, couple pictures on there, whatever, is fishing, could be working, and I would just say enjoy it. The days we're all getting closer to the sunset, and you never know when that sunset is. So you just got to enjoy life. You got to enjoy work, and make the most of every day. So it's a privilege to wake up every day. So enjoy it.
What do they always say? The days are long and the years are short, right? So
correct.
There you go. I like that. CJ.
Yeah, this is such a good question because it's funny because when you sent the calendar invite to do this, you start thinking about it already then, right. And like my drives back and forth or wherever I'm driving to, you're thinking about what is that billboard going to be, and you want it to be catchy. And for me, it was my whole life. Like I love sports, and I love playing sports when I was younger. I love coaching sports for my kids, and I enjoy watching sports. So. And then also for for Drexel. You know, like I've loved every day that I've come to work. You know, I feel very fortunate about that. That I never woke up and was like not wanting to come to work.
Sure.
So for me, it was and I think I'm stealing a little bit from, I think it was Michael Jordan who had the quote that talent wins games, teamwork wins championships. You know, I've just seen it over the years, even at Drexel, like you can have the most talented people and you're going to win, but when the team actually works together, that's when the magic happens. So that would be my billboard.
Yeah, which I think hits home with, you know, again, like we had development day to day, right? And how many people we have here now with, you know, 800 some, and at the end of the day, right, we all got to pull our own weight to go where we want to go.
Craig's would be a two-sided billboard because I'm sure the other side would have all his hits, home runs, batting average, couple nicknames, a few other things that I would love to help make his billboard if we ever do this. Like, shame Craig would ever leave this earth before I do. I will make a billboard for Craig. It will be on Highway 41, and it will be two-sided. So
is it going to have his camel
we'll make sure he gets what he wants on, but I'll make sure I get what I want.
Is his camel sport picture going to be on there then, too?
Yeah, that one that, yeah.
I showed it to the camera, so.
You're going to edit this out, right?
No.
This is nonsense.
I got some really good stuff to put on there. But, Mark, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I want to know what your billboard would be.
No one's ever asked me that.
You do a heck of a job with this, so it's like, what would your billboard be?
I always said that mine would be own it, just because I feel like anything you do in life, like, you should put your name on it, right? Like, you make a mistake, like, just own up to it. I always hate people who pass blame, or, you know, kind of going back to yours, too, about, like, teamwork. It's the people that always bug me are the ones that are like, oh, well, you know, I did this, and not really kind of thinking about anybody else around them, just kind of themselves. So probably own it. But, yeah, what would mine be right now? I would say kind of like yours. In a way, you know, where I think obviously you had some family stuff the last few years, so you realize that life is short. So I think, like, yeah, just soaking up every single day, because you don't know, like I said, how many more you got left, and family, or when you're going to see people again, or stuff like that. So, I mean, really kind of own it as the thing, but I think, like, yeah, just understanding, like, life's too fast or something like that with some dots. And I always said, I don't know if it's my quote or whatever, but I said life's not a video game, you can't hit reset. So it's really true. You know, you just can't. You got to play what's played and see how long you got. So, yeah, good question, though. No one's ever asked me that. So, thanks, Todd.
You bet.
What a guy.
Yeah.
I'll help you with your billboard now, too, with CJ.
Pretty good on the spot, you are.
Yeah.
It's
So,
really
yeah.
good.
Well, it's 1:20, folks. Appreciate you listening.
Peace.